Hi and welcome to the channel and welcome to a new vlog. Firstly, may I just say to everybody who's not watched the channel before, welcome. Also, I'd like to thank the 20 odd new subscribers we've had this last week. It's taken me a little bit by surprise, and I'm really glad that you're coming on board. Now, as I say, this channel has lots of different things on it. You won't find me caravanning in the Lake District really, that sort of thing, or falling over my tent pegs and thirst and the Acarol rolling away down the hill, none of that sort of thing. Yeah, mine's caravan industry, more related, but I do new model, used models, holiday homes, motorhomes and the odd camper vans too. But anyway, for everybody else that knows me, skip that bit. Right, I've got to start off with the sad news about another dealer going to liquidation, and what makes it a little bit sadder for me is the fact is I've known this the founder of the dealership, Michael Old, Adventure Leisure, up at T-Bay. I've known him for nearly 40 years, and I visited his family owned dealership, oh gosh, back in 1969 when I was about a kid. And it was about a mile or two from where I lived, and I used to be able to cycle there on my Doors 5-speed racer bike, and I'd go there and hanker around by the caravans and pick up brochures, which I've still got some of them with Dave Barron Caravans, Blackpool. Now, Barron's expanded a lot, and they eventually moved to a place at Southport, and also the place at Standish, which is still a caravan dealership, but it got owned by Longtons, and now I think it is Standish Caravans have moved there. And I've done a few videos from them over the years. But Michael Old was always one of these sort of guys who was very forward thinking, charismatic, very good at selling, and also just very good at the industry. He knew people, and was well liked. Now, he had a brother called David as well, and sadly David's no longer with us, but what did happen is as Barron's grew and expanded, they took on a caravan dealership called New Island Caravans, which were down near Warrington. New Island were been there for quite a number of years. I think they were ABI dealers, and when ABI had this silly notion, the old Torah dealers had this silly notion of literally saying you're going to have a soulless dealership of ABIs. Well, that put a lot of dealers in a spin, because people wanted to deal with ABI as well as other brands such as Swift and people like that, and Avondale. So what they did, they opened up a separate sales ground, and Barron's went and bought New Island Caravans, which was already an ABI dealer, so they could sell ABIs. ABI relented on that and just said eventually, right, everybody can sell ABIs and Swift, it doesn't matter, Baileys or whatever. But they bought, the next move was for Barron's was to actually, they moved in the early 80s to Coppell on Chapel Lane, and that's where I started to go and see them really mainly. I'd seen them at Southport, which was in the late 70s, gone with my parents then, and I used to go to their place up at Standish, which again I went with my parents. That was the very early 70s, about 1970, 71. But anyway, they moved to Coppell and they expanded. They had a fantastic showground, they had a good accessory shop. They really ran it really well. In fact, actually, I mean, everybody knew Dave Barron's, and then they became Barron's Great Outdoors, and over in Burtree at Darlington, Burtree Caravans, another old dealership, had caught fire. In fact, I went to see that just after it caught fire actually, and there was melted caravans and all sorts. The place was a real mess, and Barron's bought it, completely demolished what was left, and actually started off a 5-star dealership, and Michael was in control of that, and he made a very good job. Michael was always bang on with detail. I've seen him many a time on the forecourt literally pulling caravans to make sure all the drawbars are in line to make it look good as people walk down. So I admired him for that. He then split from the family business, took on Buccaneer Caravans, which he's always been a fan of, and then literally sold it then onto Explorer Group, which became which was Eldis, and he took over regarding design and development of the next stage on Buccaneers. And for anybody with long memory, maybe there used to be a series called Trouble at the Top, and it used to sort of do a focus on a company that say had been very successful, and then there was a few changes, and it was like touch and go what happened. Well, Michael appeared in a BBC Two documentary, and I've got that on a video somewhere, and it was a most enjoyable video. And when they relaunched the Buccaneers at the NEC, in the February NEC, which I think 2000, 2001, I can't remember, off the top of my head again, the old memory's going. I was there when the cameras were rolling and it all went ahead. And then Michael was working for Eldis, and I think he was responsible for the Avanti range. He wanted something to tackle the Bailey Rangers, which were doing extremely well by the early 2000s, and so the Avanti range was really launched to compete against them. But Michael, being Michael, decided he wanted to carry on and go forward and progress himself, and he ended up being the importer distributor for Airstream. Now this is where the story takes a bit of a turn, because when I found this out, because a guy from Airstream a couple of years earlier had actually contacted me and said about Airstream in the UK, and he said, look, I said, I don't think it's going to work. Mainly because I said it has been tried before by several importers, and they were properly built American Airstreams, where these were going to be chassis shipped out from Germany, the body put on and then shipped back to the UK and then fitted out in the UK. So I thought this was going to be a real mismatch, and they were sort of sticking, hikey roof vents in a Caravan, if we want to call them Caravans, Airstreams, that were never designed for such things. And a lot of European bits in there just looked out of place. I never really rated them. I think that's the only time me and Michael actually had a fallout. But like every good relationship, everything gets back again on an even keel. And some years later, I think Michael did that for about 10 years, and then in that time he started up Adventure Leisure, selling the Airstreams, but also selling things like Arribas. Well, back then, Arribas, in sort of like the 90s, there was only one or two dealers in the UK doing Arribas, so supply was pretty small, and if you could get one, you're doing well. They've been bringing Arribas into the UK, I think since the 70s, it's definitely from the late 70s into the early 80s. They've never been a volume seller. They were never designed to be a volume seller. Very niche, as the Airstreams were. Airstream went over to Swift again. Well, we had words, and of course Swift dropped Airstream pretty quickly. It wasn't working. So Michael started dealing with Arribas, and he was doing things like started doing the motorhomes, and then he sort of moved into a bit mainstream. He took on Coachman, and then he also took on Buccaneer, and I think he sold a few Eldis motorhomes as well. So he was going a bit more mainstream. He was always fighting against the white box thing, and you see, and I'll tell you now. And I won't say who it was, but somebody came on and commented, this is very sad, which it is, but this, Adventure Leisure sold things that were not the normal white box. True up to a point, but they did the same, went on to Buccaneers, because Michael had this thing about Buccaneer. He brought up with Buccaneer basically from, a teenager, helping sell them at his dad's. But the trouble is, when the market hardens, niche stuff takes a real bashing. It's never going to be a massive volume seller. And it's same with imported makes. Now we've got Knaus have been into the UK now about 10 years, and they've never done any. They've never really been. They've got dealers and lost them, and they've just really never got established in the UK. And you know, I know people that tried to get them into the UK, and I know dealers that took them on and just basically dropped them after a year or two. My problem with those was they were very heavy. They were quite expensive, and they just lacked what a Caravan at that sort of price tag should have had. So as far as I know, Knaus has still been brought in, but I don't know how. I think dealers, they might be down to a handful, if that. But anyway, that's besides the point. So Michael was selling things like Fun Sports. Well, again, you know, they've been imported into the UK back in the late 80s. Hampton Dorset Caravans are no longer with us. They brought them in, and they just never did anything with them at all. They were never for the UK market. Yes, you'll still get somebody who goes, oh, I want something different. And yes, you might go and have a Fun Sport with a door at the back end and a shower that folds out or whatever. But at the end of it, it's not a van you're going to sell easily on. And even the dealers can't sell them easily on. You've got to really find a person that's looking for that sort of van. I think Swift probably did the best thing with the base camp, because they've not offended. You know, it's UK built, obviously, and also, although it's different, it still has that Caravan feel about it. Although, sorry, any base camp owners, I know you don't like to be classed as Caravans, but they are basically still a Caravan. And you know, going back to Michael, he was selling things like Weinsberg, which were just, you know, I knew some days that brand new 3-year-old ones still couldn't get shut off. And I've done some reviews on them. I think they were great build. They were quite well finished. Some of the things they used on them, like heavy duty corner steadies on an entry level range of vans and a domestic cassette loo. I just don't know why they put expensive things like that in. Plus, as well, the exteriors didn't look good. They looked very dated. And again, very few dealers. So Michael was dealing with Knaus, who was doing camper vans, and then he started on Malibu. So Malibu are very high up-end market motorhomes, which some super finish on them. But again, you know, there's a couple of dealers in the UK, but then again, there's only a limited market. Now, the trouble with Ariba is, of course, Heimer thought, oh, hang on, Ariba, well, you know, people love them. People love them. It's, you know, it's like the VW in a split screen. People love them. You know, the only reason why we're not selling more is because we don't put them in any dealers. Well, if they'd have said to me, look, this is what we're going to do, we're going to put them loads of dealers, I said, don't do it, because all you're going to do is flood the market with a van that is niche, that is not going to sell to the majority of people. And you need something that's going to sell to the majority of people to make money. Yes, you know, you're always going to get somebody who's going to buy it, but those people are few and far between that will go and buy a new Bailey or a new Swift or Coachman or whatever. So I think he was up against it in the end, because, as I say, you know, prices had gone up, as we know, and I think a lot of imported stuff was expensive. And if you're carrying lots of stuff, you know, 10, 15 motorhomes at 60, 70 grand a piece, that's just motor. You've got a lot of stock there in value. And if sales are down like that, and then you start to discount, I know he was doing quite a lot of discount to try and sort of shift some stock away. But, you know, you just can't carry on doing that. So, yeah, but Michael, I know, will be back. He certainly will be. We've had some good conversations about the caravan industry, what's good, what's bad. And, yeah, he's a real good egg, and I'm a sort of he's going to be back. So I was very sad. I wasn't totally surprised in one respect, because the stuff he was selling I thought was too niche to make mainstream. Although he had specialist servicing for Arebas and Airstreams and what have you, there just wasn't enough out there, really, I don't think, really, and for people to come up there to get it done. So, and I think some people are sort of being a bit clever and doing their own bits of servicing, you know, because Fred's told me how to do this, and Joe's told me how to do that. We'll, you know, save ourselves a few £100 here, so we won't go to the dealer. Trouble is, once the dealers have gone, and you know, love them or hate them, dealerships are essential people to have around for after sales and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other part of the coin on dealerships going, because once they've gone, you're not going to have anyone to go to. Right, so okay, so yeah, I'm still saddened about that, and I don't like any business going, no matter whether it's caravans or any business actually. But that's how that's been. As I say, we've got subscribers coming up, and we've been doing some 2026 now. My stuff has been first glance. We only get 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours maybe. Well, I do. I know there's others who actually get another day, sort of a special day to go and have a look, and so they get longer. Probably can do the extra longer video. And there's a couple of them at it, and me, I'm on my own, and I've literally got a, you know, all my trade shows at one time, I used to make a living out of them with magazine work, but because a lot of that's gone, I am literally doing them for the YouTube channel, and it is out of my own pocket. So I need people to subscribe, and also the Buy Me a Coffee, which you'll see that logo at the top of the page of the channel. So you know, I really do need, you know, that financial support, because, you know, doing these videos is time consuming, obviously, and obviously it's cost, fuel, and to just add insult to injury, when I came back from Eldis a week or two later, I got a speeding fine from courtesy of Cumbria Police. Now, I'll just take you on that. On the way back, on the way there, I went up. I came off at Penrith and I went up over Alston. It's a favourite road of mine. I've towed caravans, I've driven motorhomes up there. There's some real hairpin bends over there. And, you know, there really are some real sort of devil's elbows. But it's a fantastic road. And, you know, you drop back onto 69 and now you've gone to Hexham. Anyway, I'd gone that way up to Eldis. Nice day, good drive, quiet. And on the way back, I thought, do you know what? It's getting late, because I'd stopped for the dinner there at the race course where it was held, and it was getting like 11 o'clock. I thought, oh, this is going to be like, I'm not going to be getting back till after 1. I thought, I'm not going to be going up through Alston over the tops at this time of day. You know, I mean, I don't mind driving over there at night, not a problem, but I just thought I'm going to go on back on the 69 all the way up, which have made a fantastic, some massive improvements on that road. It's great for towing on now. It wasn't back in the early 80s and 70s when me and my dad and mum, we used to go up that way with a caravan. It was a lot more twisty and windy and quite a dangerous road in parts. But anyway, hit the motorway, on my way about 12:05 at night, and I saw the roadworks coming up, and it said down to 40. I was probably doing about 55, 60, because I always try and drive economy wise. So I was getting about 52 to the gallon, and I saw it coming up. What I don't like doing, I don't like anchoring on my brakes, because I don't like putting unnecessary wear and tear. So what I tend to do is I see the sign coming up, so I start to, you know, ease off the accelerator, start to change down, start to use the gears to slow the car down, and then apply the brakes sort of just as the car's really getting down. As I hit the 40, I was doing 45. Now, I thought I'd be okay as I did that, thinking that the camera would be another 100 yards down, which by that time I would be down to 40, no problem. But it wasn't. They called me. So that was my first speeding fine about 15 years or so. I worked out, it's probably about 170,000 miles I've driven without a speeding fine. So I don't it's done too bad. So I've got to do on Tuesday the speed awareness course. I've done one of those before, and I did that in 2009, and I had to go to Leyland it was. And that, basically I got there about 9 o'clock. I didn't come away till 3:30 in the afternoon. We actually went out on a practical drive. It was like going on an advanced driving test. Right, I'm going to wrap this video up. There'll be some more 2026 stuff coming on. hopefully this week, not as much as it was last week because I've got quite a few features to do. And talking about features and used tourers, Practical Caravan magazine, look out for my used features in there, and where I concentrate on a particular year of range of tourers, and hopefully give you a good indication of what to look out for if you're looking at one of those a 2010 Bailey or whatever Olympus, and you know, it gives you things to look out for, and tells you the good points as well, of course. So Practical Caravan, subscribe to it. I think that I have a subscription offer on at the moment. They always generally do. Support the magazine, support me, and be much obliged. On that note, I'm going to let you go because I've rabbled on far too long, and I shall see you on the next video. And we've got a new camera, but we've got to get it sorted. I've got to get some video editing stuff done. Probably a new laptop as well because mine's getting jaded. So at the moment it's not supporting that format on that camera. So things have changed a little bit since I think it's about 8 years old, my laptop now. So and the others are all sort of oldie ones. You know, they've been doing the word processing stuff, and that's fine, and images and that. But for more modern videos now, it's the saying, no, we can't do it. So I've got to see what I'm going to do about that. So in the meantime, I'll still be using the DSLR, the old Nikon, the old tried and trusted 7200. That's taken over from the Nik 780. So I keep going on about that, but it doesn't really gripe me. See you on the next one. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe, please like, and please share the video. I'd be much obliged if you do. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.